All right. All right. Hello, everybody. This is Mrs. Meredith from Thrive Homeschool Academy. So, if you're tuning in live, you'll be able to ask questions in the live chat if you would like to. I think you do need a YouTube account. So, if you don't have one, just set one up for free or wait until next time. It's up to you. But otherwise, you'll be able to watch this later as well. So we'll be watching some clips in class and different things like that. But that's why I wanted to do it on YouTube, because that way, if you miss it today, you can always watch it later. Or if you want to go back and rewatch something, you're welcome to do that. So today we are joined by my mother-in-law, Renae Meredith. So thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for asking me.
Yes. So we've had a lot of conversations just through life about all the different theater things that she's been involved in. I was actually just recently reminded that the first time I met you was when I went to see Harvey, which Andrew, so my husband, was in Harvey. He played Wilson. Is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah, like the what is
the
he?
Orderly, yeah.
Orderly, yes, yeah. So if you've never seen Harvey before, it's the one with the movie is Jimmy Stewart, and it's about a guy who sees an invisible giant rabbit, a puka. And it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But that was the first time I met Renae. And so what part did you play with Harvey?
I designed the set, and I cannot remember. I don't think I directed it. I think I just designed
that.
Oh, no, I directed it. Somebody else designed the set. Sorry.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yes.
A while ago.
I was gonna say you've done so many. So I guess let's start there. Can you walk us through kind of what stage theater and film theater you have done, and then we'll just kind of look at different parts of that.
All right. Well, I started off in theater as a mom, and then I was asked to co-direct a second theater, and this was for Christian Youth Theater in Spokane, and all three of my kids were involved in that for several years. And I started off directing, and then I wanted very much, and teaching. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted very much to learn more about set design, because I'd had an experience with a designer, and I thought, I need to know more about this so that I can talk about it better as a director. And so I took a class at my local community college, Spokane Falls Community College, on set design, stage and theater design. And I loved it. Yeah. It felt like it was where I was meant to be. And my first design for that was floor painting. In that theater, the audience enters from the top of the house and looks down at the stage floor. And so we were doing a Asian play called The Nightingale. Okay. And the director, my teacher, wanted a design for the floor so that when the audience came in, they would see a Japanese garden. And in that theater, we were able to we painted the floor every show.
Oh, wow.
We painted it, overpainted, or occasionally we laid down flooring.
Wow.
And from that point on, I knew that I was good at stage design. And so I started working with that, building sets, designing sets, painting sets. From there, I also worked in the costume shop there.
Okay.
And in that, when I first started, I was mostly gathering costumes. I would make minor alterations. And eventually I became the primary costume designer and costumer for the Spokane Falls Community College Theater.
Okay.
While I was doing that, a friend who I knew from my theater work at Spokane Civic Theater, which is our local, pretty large community theater,
yeah,
had been working on a film, and they needed help for like 3 days, and that she couldn't provide. So she said, Renae, I think you would be really good at this. And she called me and I went to work on a film called Mozart and the Whale. It starred Josh Hartnett,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned to be an on-set costumer. And because it was a very small film with a very small costume department, like 3 or 4 people,
Okay.
you learn to do a little of everything.
Right. Yeah.
It's setting costumes, which means taking them to the actors' trailers where they
Okay.
were. And we call in theater they're called costumes. In movies they're called wardrobe.
Okay. All right.
So we would set the wardrobe at the beginning of the day before the actors got there, or while they were in hair and makeup. And then I would get to go to set, and that's where I learned to be an on-set costumer.
Okay.
In that little film that I was supposed to work 3 days on, and I think I ended up working the rest of the film.
Wow. Yeah.
Which was another 3 weeks or so.
Okay.
It was a wonderful experience. I really enjoyed it. So from that point on, I would bounce between theaters,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes designing sets, sometimes helping with costumes. At one point, I was the technical director of a startup professional theater,
Okay.
and I was working on sets. I was actually responsible for getting the sets built.
Oh, wow.
Am not a carpenter, so I always had carpentry help,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would tell them what to do, and
Okay.
and then a lot of the time I was responsible for painting sets.
Okay.
Somebody else in this theater, somebody else was in charge of furnishings. I
Okay.
didn't have to come up with the furnishings. Somebody else was in charge of furnishings.
Okay.
So that
you weren't designing it. You're basically.
I wasn't designing it at that point.
Okay.
At one point, I did design a set or two for them.
Okay.
And then I was also designing sets for, at that point, Christian Youth Theater. I would get asked to design a set for Spokane Children's Theater, which is an entirely different theater. I would work backstage on large productions at Spokane Civic Theater. So I was also a stagehand.
Okay.
Moving sets and helping actors change costumes. Quick changes. I loved doing quick changes.
Yeah.
I did that at Coeur d'Alene Summer Theater, Spokane Civic Theater. I love quick changes.
Yeah. Why? Why?
Well, I like the art and science of how figuring out how quickly we can get that actor from one costume to another,
right,
and getting it quicker all the time and making it as easy and seamless as possible to make the actor's job as easy as possible. I never wanted the actors to be worried about
right,
how this was going to happen. This was not their problem.
right.
And a quick change means often an actor steps off stage, you take off their current costume or parts of their current costume, slip them into another costume,
Mm-hmm.
and they're ready to go back on stage in ideally it would be seconds.
With a mic on?
Sometimes they had mics on.
Yeah.
So a lot of times in that case, that was in musical theater. A lot of times in that case, their microphones are in their hair.
Okay.
And occasionally sewn into their costumes.
Oh, okay.
So from that, I would often I got to work on some larger films from the beginning of the filming to the end of the filming.
Okay.
And that was almost always as the on-set costumer.
Okay.
And that was on a couple of different movies, and then on a television show on the Sci-Fi Network called Z Nation, which was about zombies.
Yes. Which that one was while we were living there.
Yes.
So yeah. For those students who haven't heard me say this already, my husband is a zombie in Z Nation. I do not recommend it for all viewers. Okay.
No.
It's definitely, gosh, what is it? maybe R level horror. It's pretty high up there.
It's pretty high up there. It is on television. It's not
Right.
a movie.
So it's not, yeah, but
a
it's
little tamer than that.
Yeah.
But yes, we had some, dismemberment and that kind of
It
thing.
was
So,
quite a bit. I remember Andrew he gets hit by a taxi door and something. Yes. Yeah. Mayhem ensues. So, yeah. So for those of you who are wondering, there is a link in the description down below to Renae's IMDb listing. So if you want to click on that and look at some of the movies that she's been in and some of the actors and actresses that she has worked with, you can check that out. I did also gather some questions from some of the high school students on Friday, so I do have some questions there too. So I guess, let's see, you already said like what was your first movie, Mozart and the Whale, and so you learned some stuff there. Let's see, can you describe a little bit more like what is on-set costumer? That's such a specific role. And we were talking about different roles in film, and so for students to understand what that is.
So you have to remember that the Spokane film community is quite small. So only doing one film or one TV show at a time. And as the on-set costumer, my job was to travel to the set and take care of whatever the actors on set needed. Somebody else designed the wardrobe. There's a costume or wardrobe designer. There's a wardrobe supervisor. And then they have helpers. I'll get to base camp in a little bit. They have helpers at camp. And then, so the on-set customer gets to travel to the set, watch filming. It was my job to know what was being filmed and in what order. You have to remember that movies are always shot out of order. They're never shot day to day to day to day. So on day 1 of filming, you could be shooting day 20 of the movie day.
Right.
So life has happened already.
Yeah.
Back at wardrobe, they've determined who wears what when.
Okay.
But it was my job to make sure when they got to set that they were in the right wardrobe for the right day.
Right.
To pay attention to what they wore the last time they shot this day, movie day 20, and to make sure that they're wearing exactly the same thing in exactly the same way that they were wearing it when they shot it before.
Okay.
Take pictures. So I needed to know how many buttons were buttoned on the shirt. Wow. If the tie was tied all the way up or was maybe loosened. Which jacket they wore on that day. Make sure they didn't slip into the wrong jacket. That kind of thing. If they got a stain, if in the film they're going to have, say, a milkshake thrown at them.
Yeah.
On film day 10, and they're wearing the same thing on film day 20, they need to be wearing however that showed on the wardrobe. That's called continuity. And then as the day progressed, as our shooting day progressed, I might have to make minor repairs. I might have to clean something that got inadvertently spilled on. I might need to send to base camp for a piece of wardrobe that turns out we're missing. He had a handkerchief in his pocket that day, and we missed it. If it wasn't a prop, if it was supposed to be in the wardrobe,
right,
I need to make sure I had that.
Okay.
So consequently, I had a big kit, like one of the biggest toolkits, rolling toolkit that you can get at Home Depot.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was filled with my tools.
Right.
And also my iPhone was probably my greatest tool
Yeah.
because I could take photos, I could send photos back to base camp.
Okay.
Is this how this is supposed to be?
Right.
I could get messages back and forth, that kind of thing. And so then we would broke for lunch. The day after lunch, we might be shooting a whole different day.
Mm-hmm.
And and back at base camp, they would have been setting the next wardrobe.
Okay.
But I needed to make sure that we were all on the same page as to what day we're shooting after lunch. And I would let base camp know, okay, we're going to go to this setup after lunch.
Right.
Okay. And then they scramble at base camp to get that set and ready to go.
Right.
Okay. Then the shooting day, we would all go back to base camp. The actors would shed their wardrobe. We had to gather up the wardrobe, bring it back to the wardrobe trailer, set it up so it could get laundered or put back on the rack to be worn another day.
Okay.
And then somebody else did laundry. Our wardrobe supervisor did that.
Okay.
I said very, very small crews.
Right.
So we had a wardrobe supervisor who took care of all that.
Okay.
If something got torn or dirty that needed to be cleaned off, somebody else, that would be their job to do that.
Okay. So yeah, so a lot of, I mean, that's one of the nice things though about working on a smaller set is you do get more experience doing more of the different things.
Oh yes.
And, so yeah, we'll go ahead and answer. One of the questions was, let's see, I think I can show it on there. Was what training did you have? What did you wish you had? I think that kind of goes along with what you're talking about.
I had a lot of training at Spokane Falls at the community college, and that was theater training. And other than that, film-wise, I didn't have any training except for on-the-job experience and on-the-job help. So in my first film, Mozart and the Whale, I was working with a very experienced costumer who was a set costumer, and he was actually Robert Redford's personal wardrobe assistant.
Oh, wow.
For professionally. So he would go, and whenever Robert Redford had a film, Stephen would go to work on that film because Mr. Redford trusted Stephen to make sure he would always look good on film.
Wow.
And so he was super experienced and super, super nice. And when I went to set the first couple of days, he would say, okay, don't stand here because the actors can see you, and they don't like, some actors freak out if they can see crew members in the sight, what's called the sight line or eye line.
Yeah.
So he would say, don't stand there, you stand back here, and he would tell me what to wait for to move in to make a change or to help or fix, and taught me lingo, introduced me to crew members, that kind of thing. So he was wonderful.
So lots of just, hands-on experience.
Hands-on experience, making mistakes.
Yeah.
Fixing them.
Yeah. Would you recommend that for most people, or?
I have never been to film school,
right.
So I have no idea what you learn at film school.
Right. Yeah.
So when you're in a small town like we are, and it's a very small film industry, that's the only way you can learn is by doing and learning.
Right. So if a student wanted to get involved, like, is there availability to people under 18, or do you really have to be 18 or older to start?
You have to be 18 or older, usually, almost always, to work on a film set because it's considered a dangerous workplace.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But if you want to learn more about filming and get into that, I would recommend, first of all, making your own films and learning that way. Mm-hmm. And you can, not only in school, but you can look for community film festivals or community film presentations. And I know here in Spokane we have a pretty robust DIY film community,
Right.
and they'll often have competitions and they'll present their work
Yeah.
to each other and to the community. Otherwise, working as a film extra will teach you a lot and get you very exposed. So, and film extras are all the way from 6 months to 90. So,
Yeah.
depending on what they're casting for extras.
Right. Yeah.
So you can get involved with that way.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's see. So costume design and that part of it. So you said for the films you didn't really do the costume design. You were more making changes on set. I guess also with that, can you explain the difference between base camp and on set?
Yes.
Yes.
So set has to be very controlled. Whether you're filming outside or inside, it doesn't really matter, but everything has to be controlled. Who gets in, the sound can be very, it's very hard on the sound engineers if there's a lot of extraneous noise, and so you don't want people going in and out of the set who don't belong there. So base camp is, and if you're driving around town and you see a whole bunch of trailers and trailers that look like they might have a lot of doors in them, you're probably looking at a base camp of some sort. They'll have tents set up for catering, that kind of thing. And the wardrobe trailer would be part of that base camp. And when you're base camp, that's where all the stuff happens. That's where the hair and makeup department is. This is when it's all on location shooting, no studio shooting.
Okay.
So they would be at base camp, and that's where the actors report and the crew reports, and then once everything is set up and ready to go to set, then transportation takes you from base camp to wherever the set is, and that could be anywhere. It could be in a house, it could be in a park down by the river. It could be we did some great filming in these really old, an old aluminum factory out on the edge of town. And they had some old abandoned buildings that they weren't using. And we did some fantastic filming out there that was gorgeous. I like dirty sets.
Yeah.
So not everybody does. I love dirty sets. But so it could be anywhere. So that's where set was. So then you're at set, you film, then you break for a meal. Everybody gets transported in trucks and cars and things that go. And you go back to base camp for your meal.
Okay.
And then at the end of meal, you load back up and you go to set again. Sometimes you've moved set. Sometimes the crew has to. So we did this setup at this place. Now we're going to move down the road to this other place. And so you may have a whole entirely new setup at the second place.
How long of a day is that?
So usually my calls were 4 or 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And so you're there before light because you want to start filming when the light gets good. Yeah. And so I would report at 4 or 5. That's when you do setup. You get breakfast. In our film crews, we always had provided breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay.
Because we worked 12 to 14-hour days. So I would show up at 4 or 5. This is if it was a daytime shooting.
Right.
Then we would maybe start filming at 8 o'clock in the morning. So it could be a 4-hour time to set up, to get the wardrobe set, to have breakfast, to make sure everything was what it was supposed to be. and you better report to set on time at 8. Now, maybe 8 was for a rehearsal.
Oh, okay.
But I would like to see the rehearsals because I want to see what's going to happen to the costumes,
Right.
the wardrobe during the fight scene or what have you.
Right.
Then we would film we usually would film until noon or 1 o'clock. We'd have a 1 or 2 hour lunch break, depending on what had to get done during that time. And then back to set to be finished filming. Fortunately, in Spokane, our summer days go until 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
But that also meant that we were working until 8 or 9 because we would shoot until we ran out of light.
Okay. Yeah.
Then you're going back to set. So when I say 12 or 14-hour days, that was on Z Nation, the TV show, because we were filming 5 days a week. They were very strict about making Monday through Friday. They were very strict about making sure that we only had 12 or 14-hour days. But I worked on some films where I think I had an 18-hour day once.
Wow.
So that was pretty grueling.
Yeah. You got to stay till it's done. So.
You have to stay till it's done. There's no saying I'm tired of this. I don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
And as hard a work as it was, there were always people who were working much harder than me.
Right.
And carrying a lot of equipment, that kind of thing. And then the actors who were doing really hard work with emotionally, mentally.
Yeah.
And you don't want to tax them past their point at which they can work well.
Exactly. Yeah. So
they have a union. They have a good union.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So like the rehearsals, was that with the actual actors or was that with stand-ins?
Sometimes it was with stand-ins.
Okay.
When we worked on Camilla Dickinson, they had stand-ins for the 2 leads.
Okay.
And they had people who were approximately their height with approximately their hair color, and they would put them in approximately the color of their wardrobe. Okay. It didn't have to be exact.
Yeah.
And that was enough for them to do the lighting.
Okay.
Figure out the sound setups and that kind of thing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's see. Yeah. So you kind of walked us through an average day on set. Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and answer. So here's another question from someone in the live chat. Wendy M asks, how do you find extras and how do you make sure extras don't repeat in background scenery?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Extras, there's a couple of different ways that extras might be found. There might just be a general call, an online Facebook post or something along those lines, and they might say, we're filming this upcoming film, we're looking for extras, these approximate ages, if you have any availability in July, send your headshot and resume to, or there might be an agency involved, and an agency might have already a list of available extras, and then they might put out calls for extras, that kind of thing. So occasionally you'll see a film company with a large crowd scene and they put out a big call. For instance, a gymnasium, and they need high school students to film, and so they might even contact a couple of high schools and say, we're looking for extras and that kind of thing. So you want to look for that kind of thing. Go online and look for film companies in your area and see if they have any calls for extras or any ways that they are recruiting, that kind of thing.
With your parents, guys. Don't go do it on your own.
With your parents.
Yes.
Your parents have to do it, and if you're under 18, you usually have to have a parent with you at all times.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do it, your parent has to be there. And then you would send in what's called a headshot. So this is I don't know if they're still using black and white or if they use color anymore. They used to only use black and white.
Yeah.
And then you'd put on the back of that 8x10 picture of your head to face,
Mm-hmm.
things like your age and your height and your weight and your eye color, hair color, that kind of thing. And then whatever work you might have done in plays, in school, that kind of thing. And that's how they get extras, movie extras. You'll see calls for them every once in a while. Somebody might be filming a commercial in your town.
Right.
And the more often you get on those kinds of things, then the more often you'll get called if you're available and reliable.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So how about how do they make sure the extras don't repeat in background, or does that happen? And
well, one of the things that they do is somebody called a production assistant or an assistant director. There's several layers of assistant directors, but there's also production assistants.
mm-hmm.
And they might be put in charge of, for instance, if in the background you need extras to walk through a park scene. So you're filming the park scene in the foreground, that's what everybody's filming. But in the background, you want things to look normal and natural. So you might want to see somebody walking with a baby stroller and somebody else walking with their children. And so a PA on one end of the shooting set and another PA at the other end will send their extras at intervals back and forth through the scenery.
Right.
How we make sure that actors don't get repeated is by giving them different wardrobe.
Yeah.
If you've noticed somebody in the background, then that's not a good thing.
Right.
So for instance, if somebody has bright red curly hair, in one scene, they may walk through wearing a certain wardrobe, and in the next scene, they may put a hat on that person.
Right.
So that they look like a different person.
Right.
Because when you have reliable and dependable extras, you tend to use them.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's really helpful to know who you're getting and how they're going to behave.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
If you're an extra on set, one of the biggest things you can do is keep your eyes and ears open and keep quiet.
Yeah.
So when filming is being done, you want to make sure you're not doing anything that might disturb the filming. You may be being held in extras holding, and that might be off a little ways because they're waiting to stage something, to set something up, a scene up. And you want to make sure that you're not causing distractions and doing things that will make anybody's job hard. As an extra, or not an extra, I wasn't an extra, but as a set costumer or even backstage as a stagehand, I never wanted to do anything that made anybody's job harder or more complicated.
Yeah. And that's super helpful for the director and everybody else who's working on stuff, right? Mm-hmm. They know that they can count on you to be where you need to be, and then exactly. Yeah. So okay, so extras, but you've worked with some pretty big names. You mentioned Josh Hartnett. My favorite is always Carrie Elways.
Yes.
So could you share some stories about the people you've worked with? And I know that it's all been positive things, right?
Yes, I've never worked with any actor who was awful or mean to me or to anybody I could see. Right. Everybody was there to do their job, and many of them were very, very nice. Some of them were a little more standoffish, but that's part of their what they call their process, what an actor might call his process, so that he's a little more standoffish or quiet because he's focused.
Right.
So yeah, I worked with Carrie Elways. I believe we had him for about a week, and he played the father in a movie called Camilla Dickinson. Might be just called Camilla now. I can't remember. And it was a 1940s film, and he was taking his daughter Camilla out for a fancy dinner. And so they created a dining room in a ballroom at a local lodge. And so I got to help him and dress him and help him figure out how to wear his bow tie. And he was super, super nice. He said, "Is it okay if I leave my cross on?" And I said, "Well, yeah, it's not going to show." He said, "Because it's important to me. I always like to wear it if I can." His collar was open a little bit at one point, and he asked if it bothered me, and I said, "Not at all." Just, you know. So he was lovely, and we were told, don't ask him anything about Princess Bride.
Yeah.
So actors often come from their agents, will often come something called a rider, which is a list of things that they would like or don't like.
Okay.
Don't want.
Yeah.
And we were all told, don't talk to him about Princess Bride. Don't ask him any questions.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon I see him over in the corner talking to crew members and laughing about some stuff on Princess Bride. He loved talking about it. It was not,
right.
You know, I think probably because they gave him his space and they didn't bother about it. And so then he was ready to open up. So that was lovely.
Yeah.
I worked on a whole film called Middleton with Andy Garcia and Vera Farmiga.
Yeah.
And Andy, they were both very nice, very professional.
Mm-hmm.
And my primary job with Andy Garcia was to make sure his bow tie was tied the same every time. So he had a beautiful Brooks Brothers silk bow tie. And of course, we had several copies of it because you don't want anything to have. I think we had like 5 of them. But it was a beautiful striped Brooks Brothers bow tie. So, and I had to make sure that it was tied the same every time. So that means that the striping was exactly the same, because that was one film day. There was not this film took place all in one day. So as we shot it over 25 or 30 days, he had to look the same all the time.
Right.
And so that also meant that if he got makeup on a collar, that at lunch, I had to make sure that collar got cleaned, that kind of thing. So often when we play Two Truths and a Lie, one of my truths is that I tied Andy Garcia's bow tie every day.
Every day.
That was kind of fun. But he was very nice, but and very professional. There was nothing. We weren't friends.
Right. Yeah.
You know. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I did work with Tom Everett Scott.
Yes.
He's in That Thing You Do and in a lot of things since then. That Thing You Do is one of our favorites. Yes. So, and I worked with him on Z Nation, and he was a super neat guy. He does not film all the way through season 1, just so you know.
Okay.
But so it was kind of a sad day when he was no longer filming with us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we ran into Andrew and I were walking down by it was Bo Radley's. What's the
Boo Radley's, yeah.
The Boo Radley's. And I know we saw him and we saw DJ something. Who was it?
Yeah. DJ.
Yeah.
Can't remember his last name.
Yeah, I think it was last name.
Both of them pretty cool guys, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's in a lot of different like TV shows and stuff.
Lots.
So,
lots.
Yeah. I remember seeing both of them, at different points. Just walking down the street, you would just be,
Well, they were in Spokane filming all summer long.
Right,
so they had to go somewhere and do something.
So, there you go.
One of the nice things about filming in Spokane for a lot of these stars is that people in Spokane leave them alone.
Yeah.
Hardly anybody would dream of going up to them and asking them for an autograph. One thing I do regret is not ordering a copy of That Thing You Do and getting his autograph on it, because he would have
Yeah.
signed it and been very kind about it. And I
Mm.
wish I'd done that, but I didn't. But I did tell him that it was one of our family's favorite movies.
It is. One of our most, that one and Young Frankenstein are our most quotable
Yes,
movies.
yes.
So, yeah. So, well, what's the best part of working on movies?
The people.
The people. Yeah.
Because Spokane is a small film community, you get to know the crew really well. And sometimes that crew is coming from Portland or from Seattle, but they're called in to work in Spokane when they need us. They need extra grips and gaffers.
Right. Which one are those?
So a gaffer is in the electrical department, and so they're running cables and lines and setting up lighting and that kind of thing. A grip is a carpenter, and so, but that's not carpentry like it's film equipment.
Right.
So, so for instance, if you're filming in a house and you don't want a whole bunch of light coming in, maybe you're shooting nighttime, even though it's daytime, the grips would be in charge of blocking the light from the outside. So they would be setting up that equipment. So, and a lot of these guys in this town are both grips and gaffers. They're not, there's a lot of crossover. Right. You can ask anybody for anything, and if they don't do it, they'll tell you who does. It's not a big deal. But you're working with the same guys over and over again, same guys and gals. Really wonderful set deck people, which is the set decor, which is what the inside of the place looks like. So it's a messy house. Set deck makes the mess. If they're going to eat at the Thanksgiving table, props makes the food.
Oh, okay.
So there's props, set deck. There's also a really fun place on this set called the craft services. And craft services is the on-set snacking. So there'll be a table set up under a tent nearby, and that person provides the coffee first thing in the morning. Catering also does coffee. The catering is breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay.
So then craft services provides all of our snacks that help us get through the whole day. And so they have coffee first thing in the morning. They might have some breakfasty items, because a lot of times the crew is working or eating while they're working to get set up to make sure that we're ready to go at sunup.
Right. Yeah.
And then you might need something to either snack on or drink. The Nation was all summer long, so super, super hot. So we were drinking stuff all day long. And then they might provide a snack between breakfast and lunch. So they might provide a hot snack or some sandwiches or something like that. And then we go back to base camp for dinner, which is the meal at the end of the day. Or pizza might get brought to the set for the late night shoots. So I told you about daytime shoots at 4 a.m.
Right. Yes.
But you in a movie, if you're filming things that take place both in the daytime and at nighttime, then you're going to be moving the clock around.
Okay.
So on Monday morning, on Monday and Tuesday, you might be filming daytime scenes. Then on Wednesday, you need to film starting later in the day so that you can take advantage of sunset, which is called the golden hour.
Okay.
And you might need to do some twilight shooting.
Yeah.
And go into the evening. So I might have to report at noon. And then I might be working until after midnight.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I might do that for a couple of days, and then we're ready to move to night shoot, which means reporting at 4 in the afternoon and filming all night long.
Wow.
And then you get to your weekend, which sometimes was one day.
Okay.
Occasionally you got a 2-day weekend, but usually it was one day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start the whole cycle over again on Monday morning. So it was that was for filming like Camilla and Middleton, where we were shooting into the evening in Middleton. But we had night shoots for Camilla because there were a lot of times when events were happening at night.
Okay. So, and then you said they're eating in costume though, right? So is there an on-set makeup person too who's making sure they're clean, and then are you fixing that
if they get it on their costume, it's up to me to make sure it gets cleaned.
Okay, yeah.
Sometimes we would provide a bathrobe or something.
Okay, yeah.
For people to wear over. If you're an extra, you would need to ask what wardrobe wants you to do when it's mealtime. Okay. And if they want you to put something over, bring a large T-shirt or an apron or something like that if you're worried about getting something on your wardrobe. Yeah. But when you're working with the lead actors, you don't really tell them what to do. You provide a bathrobe if you can. They're professionals, so most of them are very careful about what they're making sure that everything stays okay.
Yeah.
But yes, they will eat and do eat and drink and everything else in their costumes.
Okay, yeah. So what does the hierarchy look like on set? Like, is the director making final calls, or is there an assistant who's doing that and they're just focused on the screen, or how does that work?
So the director is in charge of the whole movie. He's in charge of the look and feel and details. He's helped in casting. He's approved wardrobe. He's approved sets. Right. And he decides what we're filming and how we're filming it. Mm-hmm. The first AD, that's the first assistant director, is the one who's in charge of the crew. And he's telling the crew, okay, we're going to do this setup, and this is how I want you to set it up. And then he's also the one that you'll hear call action and cut. That's the first AD or the first. And he has under him assistant directors who are in charge of things like making back at base camp. They might be in charge. A lot of times they're in charge of what's happening tomorrow and who do we need to call for tomorrow.
Right.
Because that planning happens. A lot of that happens a lot on the fly.
Oh, okay.
It's not in our world.
Yeah.
In a big film, I couldn't tell you. Mm-hmm. Then, but also on set are then crew. I told you about grips and gaffs, and they have assistants, set deck, and they have assistants. One of the assistants might be a greenery person, and if you're filming outdoors, that person's in charge of the leaves that are going to have to blow across the set or what have you. That's the greenery.
Yeah.
The green man. They used to call him Green Man. And then there's a lot of PAs or production assistants.
Okay.
And they're the lowest level, and they are in charge of everything from running and getting the director a cup of coffee to making sure that the extras are in where they're supposed to be. They could be, I might need their help with something. For instance, I may need to send for a pair of shoes because somebody's shoes didn't fit.
Right.
And so I can't leave what I'm doing with the leads. So I might need to ask a PA to help me go find this extra this is their shoes, that kind of thing. So I mean, it's very small things, but you learn so much as a PA, but it's really a young person's game. I would not recommend anybody over 30 ever try
Okay.
to be a PA.
Yeah.
It's really hard,
Yeah.
and you've got to be on top of things all the time. One thing I would say is if you do go to work as a PA or a production assistant, or if you go to work in wardrobe as an assistant, you can be a day player where you just go for the day because they have a whole bunch of extras and they need to age or dirty up a whole bunch of costumes. And so they might need your help with something like that. Wear good shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Wear comfortable closed-toed shoes, always closed shoes on set.
Yeah.
And make sure they're really comfortable. I learned that. Yeah, my shoes were probably your most important tool is what you have on your feet.
Yeah. So, what about stage theater? Any tips and tricks for that? Like, how do you get into it? I mean, other than like doing it at school, maybe like once you've graduated, what's a good way to community theater, that kind of thing?
Community theater, you can start that as a kid. You
Mm-hmm.
can be grown up to go. Your local community theater might be doing a production of Annie and need a whole bunch of little girls or something. You just never know. So community theater is a great way. And then your community college theater departments are wonderful ways to do some of everything, and you can learn so much in doing a whole bunch of different plays. You get to do a lot of different work. You get to build sets and paint sets and help with costumes, making costumes, repairing costumes in the middle of the shows, that kind of thing. So I think your community college theater departments, and a lot of those community colleges have auditions that are open to the community. You don't have to be a student in a lot of them. So I would check that out. Check out the online. And sometimes they're even doing things where they need younger people. They may be doing a show where they need a couple of children. Like several of the Shakespeare plays require children. Macbeth requires 2 children at least. And so keep your eyes and ears open for those audition notices at your local theaters.
What's your favorite part behind the scenes? Like, do you directing or set design, or what part do you like?
Set design was my favorite part. I loved researching. I loved designing. I'm not a really great artist as far as drawing goes, but I can do a lot with a ruler and pencil and ink and watercolors because stage sets are flat pieces of equipment, you know. Right. And so I learned a lot about, that kind of thing, because as long as I knew what my measurements were and how to lay it out, you can diagram, draw pretty much anything.
Right.
So that was my favorite. I liked that so much so that I often didn't go to see the plays after opening night. It didn't. To me, I was moving on. In my mind, I was already moving on to my next project.
Right. Yeah.
So I would design and work and hard, when you're painting and I'm teaching and I'm helping to teach the students how to paint, and you have to research a lot how to do different effects and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then we would get the set built, and of course, Tech Week was a big deal because something might not be right. Something might not look right. It needs to be fixed. Yeah. And then we would get to opening night, and then I would not show up until closing night when I was there to help tear the set down.
Yeah.
And people would say to me, aren't you sad to see it go? I said, no, I'm sick of it. By that point, it was 12 weeks
Right.
of work, and I was ready for it to be done, and I'd moved on.
Time for the next one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any particular shows that jump to mind when you think of set design?
I really loved my set design for Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, because that's an abstract play.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a play about Hamlet, but only from the point of view of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be quite a confusing play because you're seeing a play within a play. There's a Hamlet and there's a Claudius and there's a Gertrude, but we only see them from these minor characters' points of view.
Right, yeah.
So because it was an abstract play, I got to really play with that. I did a floor design that was like a broken up timepieces and compasses.
Ooh.
To symbolize that we didn't know where and when we were.
Right.
And I was able to take large pieces of gauzy material and string them across the top of the theater. This is at Spokane Falls.
Mm-hmm.
And create kind of a cloud/sails effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also sat the audience in the round. So we put up risers on the back of the stage.
Oh, wow.
And we encouraged people to sit anywhere on the stage. And that's how it was directed, was to be seen from anywhere on the stage.
Wow.
So that was fun. That was unusual for me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Well, I think we touched on anything. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
I can't think of anything. It was a really good chunk of my life. It was very rewarding, and I enjoyed it very much. It was very, very hard work. It's the hardest work I've ever done in my life. It's the film work.
No.
And stage work is hard too, because a lot of it is very time consuming, and it kind of takes all of your emotional and mental energy as you get closer. I like the hard deadlines of theater. I like the fact that you have an opening night. You've sent out the promotional materials. You've sold tickets. There's no going back. We're opening on opening night.
Right.
So I kind of enjoyed that. I worked well under that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I had a very supportive family who understood that when I was in the middle of that, there wasn't much else I could be doing.
Right.
It was on both sides, both in film and in theater. It could be quite exhausting. So probably the hardest thing was the time it takes. The long hours it takes to do the films. Yeah, that was the hardest part of it.
But worth it.
Very much worth it.
Very much worth it.
Yeah, it was really good. It came at a really good time in our lives when we needed that. So It was good.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. That was awesome.
Oh, you're welcome.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me, for asking me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching live. Those of you who did, and those of you who are watching later, awesome. Be sure to catch me at school if you have any questions, and you might run into Renae in person at some point. She was out here for Wizard of Oz. So some of you have met her already in the green room. And
if you have any questions, you can let Mrs. Meredith know, and she can email me or text me, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So I'm hoping to do this with a few other people this coming month. So I'll be sure to let you guys know about that. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you at school. All right. Thank you, Renae.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Bye, everybody.